For the last few months on this channel, I've been talking on and on about how I've been getting some of my favorite shots ever with the iPhone 17 Pro, especially during my recent trip to Osaka. A lot of you guys on threads and in the comments here on YouTube have been asking me for some tips and how I got these shots and those edits, so this is that video. By the way, I'm not a pro photographer at all. I barely know my way around manual settings on a pro camera, but personally, I've been very satisfied with the shots I've been getting with this phone. So yeah, this is going to be a super easy beginner-friendly guide because I'm no expert and there is no right answer here, so you don't really have to follow exactly what I say either. Okay, first off, to get the most detail from your photos and for the least amount of artificial post-processing to get less smartphone looking and more camera-like photos, there are some settings you gotta set. So first, go to your settings and turn on Pro RAW and JPEG XL Lossy. Pro RAW is not pure RAW, your phone still does some light touches, but the sharpening and the colors will look a lot less processed compared to your default images. But these Pro RAW files are also still really flexible once you start playing around with the editing on an app like Lightroom. Most of the time, these Pro RAW images don't even need any editing. I actually love how most of these look right away. One thing I did notice immediately when switching to Pro RAW is how much calmer the photos look. There's definitely less aggressive sharpening on textures, less weird HDR glow around objects and subjects, and skin tones just look more natural. It's really subtle, but once you notice it, it's really hard to go back to standard photos. So yeah, I also have JPEG XL Lossy as a file format, as these Pro RAW shots are saved as well-compressed small JPEG files, and they're easy and straightforward to share on social media apps right away. Also, just to help with framing, make sure to toggle on the grid. Make sure to adjust preserve settings to keep this format as your default on your camera app so that every time you open your camera for a quick shot is always in Pro RAW 48 megapixels. Now, quick disclaimer here, Pro RAW will take up more storage than your normal photos. So if you're constantly shooting in Pro RAW and never cleaning up your storage because you don't have cloud storage or something like that, yeah, you're gonna fill up your storage pretty fast. Now, personally, I'm totally fine with that trade-off because I'd rather have a few shots that I want to keep over 1,000 shots I never want to look at again. But if storage is tight, you don't have to shoot everything in Pro RAW. You can always just switch it on just for trips, special moments, or photos you know you'll want to edit later. Now, in terms of battery, I honestly haven't noticed a difference when shooting everything in Pro RAW versus the default settings. It's only when I start editing and exporting that makes the battery drain much faster. Then for actually taking these shots, I do have a couple of rules and tips that I follow, and maybe it'll help you out too. So for most shots, I like to take them at 1.5x to 2x. The reason I'm kind of picky about zoom levels is because focal length completely changes how a photo feels. Wide shots can feel more casual and immersive, but they can also feel pretty messy. The more slightly zoomed in shots feel more intentional and cinematic to me. So personally, I don't like to take pictures at 1x because it's just a tad too wide angle for me and things look a little too stretched than I like. Zooming in just a little bit gets a slightly more direct shot with a more focused perspective for me. In my opinion, a slight zoom in is good for photos of people. You can still get the full body shot without the distortions on the edges. For the more POV-like shots, if I have an object and I like the scenery around me, I do like the 1x or even the ultra-wide shot. But honestly, I don't do this too often. The new 4x periscope is actually a really nice lens, so I also like to take the 4x shots. They're really high quality and the details are basically identical to what you can get on the main lens. You can get pretty good shots at 6x or even 8x, but just for the maximum details as possible, I do use the 4x optical shot much more often. Using the grid, I also like to center the images with a few centered objects or subjects and an equal amount of elements on the sides. I also use the grid to line up something on the top left or right intersection. Most often I like to have something on the top left or right and also have something else diagonally across from that like this. For some reason, it does make things slightly more interesting to me. And another thing that makes a massive difference is lighting conditions. If the lighting is bad, no camera setting or editing is going to magically save your photo. Harsh midday light, super strong overhead sun, or super low light is just going to make for a bad photo with overexposure with very soft details or grain. So naturally, I mostly shoot during the day, but also at night where there are interesting light sources to make for nice, colorful, contrasty shots. Alright, so those are all the shots. Let's go make them even more interesting by editing these Pro RAW files in the Lightroom app. By the way, I always just use it free without paying for the premium subscription. Some features are going to be locked, but I basically never use those anyway, so it's fine. There are a ton of editing tools that are honestly a lot and hard to understand a lot of them at first. I'm going to take you through some of them, but first, the easiest way for you to really change up your photos to simulate a certain look you want is presets. Yes, it's super lazy, but it's so cool how you can simulate the edits of a visual style you want to emulate so easily yourself. A lot of photographers and creators made their own presets and sell them online, but for this video, I'll I'll show you all the free ones I found because they were enough for me. So what I did was I found all kinds of different Lightroom preset apps on the App Store. Each of these have different sets of free presets they offer, so I just downloaded the free ones I wanted from maybe 4 to 5 different preset apps. You just open these up in Lightroom, create presets, name it whatever you want, and hit save. Then when you go to edit any photo, go to presets, user presets, then there you have it. So now you can use your saved preset on whatever photo you took. Especially when applied to these ProRAW DNG files, you can just see how different things look with just the presets applied. Seriously, it makes my photos look so much more cinematic than before, like something taken from a real camera. One thing I do want to mention is that the presets aren't magic, they won't work on all the photos you take, and finding the right one that works for most of your photos is the hard part. A preset that looks amazing on someone else's photo might look bad on yours, even if you're using the same phone. So for me, it was honestly just a lot of trial and error. I tried a ton of presets, deleted most of them, and only kept a few that worked consistently with all kinds of photos I usually take. Now, after a preset is applied, I like to do a couple of touch-ups to each photo because, like I said, there is no magic preset for every photo. The main thing I do is color correcting. Sometimes a preset goes a little overboard or the colors are too one way or another. I do all my corrections here by desaturating the color that's doing a bit too much work on the image. I basically just try to balance it out here. And sometimes for pictures with really bright light sources, there is some overexposure, so I make sure to decrease the highlights even more as well as the whites too to make things look a bit better. I also like to play around with the contrast if things look too contrasty or too low on contrast. And I make sure to put down the sharpening a tiny bit just to lose some of that artificial sharpening that may be happening sometimes. And finally, I always make sure to do some noise reduction. These are tiny sensors inside these phones, so there's bound to be some noise, and I make sure to do this to get some slightly cleaner looking images. Then yeah, these are basically all the touch-ups I do for my photos on Lightroom. I'm honestly really satisfied with the photos I've been getting and what I've been posting on Instagram. Now, I'm not much of a photographer, so these are honestly some of the best shots I've ever taken in my life. The more you take photos and the more you edit, you'll learn a lot and develop your own style and taste. So I say just go ahead and try it and see how it goes. So that's basically everything I have to say, and I hope this guide was able to help you out. If you have any other pointers that you want to share with me and other people watching this video, leave a comment down below and let's help each other out. If you find some other free presets, feel free to share those too, since I'm always on the lookout for those too. If you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.